Good morning. I'm Ladena Bough from Stockton, Missouri, and we're on Trials and Triumphs. Today, my guest is Thomas Cooper,
Hi, my name's Thomas.
and Thomas is here to talk about his autism. He didn't find out he was autistic till just a few years ago, I guess.
I was in the sixth grade, so I'd have been like 14 or something like that. Yeah.
14, yeah. Thomas is now 19 years old, but until he was 14, nobody knew he was autistic. And so I asked him to come here and talk about what it was like going through school and so forth, because you were bullied quite a bit in school, were you not?
I was messed with a lot. Yeah. There was a lot of people picking on me and just didn't understand it. So it's kind
Yeah.
of hard to deal with.
hmm it keeps you from making a lot of friends whenever you're surrounded by bullies. And you finally just went ahead and got your high set.
Yeah.
Used to be called a GED, but you got your high set, and so now you're out and capable of earning a little money, driving Amish people around and so forth these days. Anything else you do for employment?
As of right now, not a whole lot for employment. I'm on SSI, so for
Mm-hmm.
my autism. And I also have back pain. So
Yeah. Well, you have spondylosis in your back, like I do, is my understanding. So, but we were talking. Did you have many issues with your teachers and so forth in school? Did they have a hard time teaching you?
yeah, they seem to struggle with the hands-on portion of teaching me. With a lot of autistic people, it's really hands-on. So they just struggled with showing me how to do it and then me retaining that information to repeat
hmm
it.
Yeah, I know with my grandson, if they give him more than one instruction at a time, um, it kind of scrambles his brain. It stresses him out horribly whenever, they give you like six things you have to do at one time.
Yeah, there's if you give me more than one instruction, it's I may or may not forget it.
hmm
I'm very easily distracted, so it's something I have to work on.
hmm
There's still things I have to work on to this day.
Yeah. Well, you also didn't really like talking to a lot of people, did you?
No, I am still very antisocial. I mean, I try to get out there more, try to force myself to talk to people, to interact with people. It's I don't know if this is for all autistic people, but for me specifically, I feel like I don't want to insult anyone or hurt anyone's feelings just in the slightest, so I avoid talking to them to have that happen.
hmm Well, I've found that with my grandchildren. You know, my grandson, he'll talk to about anybody as long as you're talking about, bug out bags and wars and stuff like that. But other than that, he doesn't really want to communicate too much. And my granddaughter, she just doesn't want to communicate, period. She's terrified of talking with anybody. She doesn't want somebody to judge her or, think she's stupid or, whatever the case may be. So she doesn't want to talk, period. You
Yeah,
know, did you ever have things like that when you were in grade school and so forth?
yeah, quite a bit actually. I didn't want to speak, so I just didn't, and I found it easier. I felt like if I could just get through the day, then I wouldn't have to talk to anyone.
hmm
I just it'd be easier. And then now that I'm out of school, it seems like I should have been doing it more because it would help with interviews and just
hmm
it, it's a life necessity to talk to people. So
Right. Yep. That's what I keep trying to tell Pickle. No, she don't want to talk.
yeah, it's hard to get your mind around to do it, even though you just really don't. Not that you don't want to, because man, I wish I was like super outgoing, but it's it's hard to be because you just again you don't want to insult anyone. You
Yeah.
want to be the kind of person somebody can come and talk to.
Yep. I know. I've seen you a few times over the years, and I've noticed over the years that you really didn't interact with anybody, and that was even at family gatherings for your family. I was the invader at that point.
And you probably talk to more people there than I would have.
Uh-huh. I noticed that you, kind of seemed a little standoffish, and I didn't think about it much, until you and your father came by last week. And,
Yeah, no, even at family like Christmas and Thanksgiving, I was always the corner of the room or in a different room entirely. It just, I liked my family. I liked getting along with them. It just, they would all constantly ask me questions and stuff like that I didn't know how to answer at the time because I didn't know I had autism. So I
mhm.
didn't know why I was getting sick or I didn't know this and that. So I just avoided talking to him.
Oh, that's a little heartbreaking, you've got to learn to talk to people. And I think you're doing great. Thomas came and visited with me about 3 hours the other day, and we've had a couple of really good conversations, but we were talking about the way that he was getting along in school and how many times he'd been bullied when he was younger. Was it just children, or did you find bully teachers too?
I find it to be actually more the adults would bully me a lot more than the students were. I got along okay with some of the students. I mean, I never made friends with them. I just didn't talk to them, so didn't
Mm-hmm.
get along with them. But the teachers, I'd have like in the fourth grade, I had a teacher call me names, like bad names. Like I don't know, she'd call me retarded and stupid a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and she'd kick me out of the classroom. I've had other teachers insult me, and it just came to the point where I got tired of it. So we went to homeschooling, and that actually almost made it worse because I had to come back into the schooling system at some point. It
Mm-hmm.
was only temporary till we got out of that school. Uh, so it almost made it worse to transfer from school to school to do it that way. But it did get me out of the situation, which I did help with that. But the transfer was pretty rough.
Yeah, especially whenever you go homeschooling and you can be one on one with your instructor, and now you have to go back into this group setting where, I had a teacher for 2 years who never could get my name right, called me "Hey you" for 2 years,
Yeah,
you know, and he didn't like me either, so we're good.
yeah. It seems like nowadays a lot of teachers just go to just say they're a teacher and not really one on one try to help the student, especially if the student, unless the student's being perfect, they don't like the student.
Yeah,
So
they don't understand that. You didn't have your diagnosis yet, but whenever you got your diagnosis and so forth,
it was still
and
rough.
before, they should have uh, found the proper way to teach you. My daughter, I knew when she was in school, she had some learning disabilities, but she couldn't learn the way they were teaching. Was very high functioning um, in other respects, but she thought through things and solved problems like an adult instead of a child. And they couldn't figure that out. They couldn't figure out how to teach her. And I bet your teachers over the years probably had a difficult time, if you had any that took the time to try to teach you one on one. Did they? You have any great teachers?
Yeah, Miss Bazor was my all-time favorite teacher. She was the special ed helping teacher. She would like I'd go to her class to, like if I'm struggling on assignment like a test or something, I'd go there to work on it. And she was always hands on. She always like if I needed help with something, she knew how to explain it, and it
Hmm.
helped a lot. It helped me get through school, and I appreciate her a lot for that.
Yeah, that was my job when my daughter was in school. She says, "Okay, what do they want me to do here?" And I would have to interpret it and explain it to her in a fashion that she could understand. And it's hard to find teachers that take that amount of time. It seems like these days, you know.
They in school now they just want you to be like the conveyor belt and just be cookie sheet after cookie sheet of perfect down the line, and people like me that are flawed in that kind of way, you know, get pushed to the side,
Hmm.
don't really get help. They just you have to fight for the help, which you shouldn't have to do.
No, you should never have to fight for help in that respect. They get a little bit carried away with that, I think. I know I've fought with school districts for years over various things with various children. And the ones that are bullying the autistic kids, or even someone with any kind of mental defect, when they're bullying them, that's not right. They need to be removed from the school district. You've got to be able to communicate with the children without being abusive.
Yeah, a lot of the bullying I dealt with, I never really took too personal because, I mean, I understand. I mean, I'm kind of an outsider. I mean, I never really talked a lot. So when I did get into confrontations with kids or teachers, I mean, they didn't know how to respond to me. It's not like I try to help a lot with that. So it would be better if you have autism or if you have any kind of mental disability in school. Just, I know it's hard to. I refused to do it for years. Ask for help. Ask as many teachers, ask as many faculty members for help. There's always options to help you through school that they
Mm-hmm.
will. Like I didn't even know there was for the high set stuff that there was an option to that for my school, or I'd still be in school now. So
Mm-hmm.
they're just it's hard, but you have to ask, or you have to have somebody else be there for you to ask. You just need to get out there.
Yeah, it's difficult, especially with autistic kids. It's difficult to figure out who will help you and understand what's going on with you.
We struggle with reading people, so that's an issue. We don't know if we can trust or talk to that person about it, so we just don't.
Yeah,
That's
you just kind of hide in a corner. That's my grandson. If he gets overwhelmed with somebody trying to give him six instructions at one time, he had permission to go sit behind the teacher's desk until he calmed down. He couldn't handle all that stress.
and quiet spaces, and I don't know if it's some kids don't like the dark. I understand that some people just don't like the dark, and if you have autism, it can make it worse. But being in the dark, being in the quiet seemed to help me. So if you just need time, you need to talk to your school. If you're getting stressed out to go somewhere, you need to do that. Set up somewhere where you can go to just calm down for a second. Then as soon as you're calm, go back. Don't try to make it. Don't try to stay there for too long because then you never want to get out of it because it's quiet. It's nice. So just go back as soon as you're calm.
Hmm. You don't want all that stuff inundating you at one time. I know it's stressful for an adult. I can imagine what it would be like for a child with autism, for everything kind of coming in at one point. And probably scrambles your brain a little bit.
Yeah.
So, but you got your high set and you've held a couple of jobs. And um, I find that people with autism, whenever they get a job, a lot of times they are more detail oriented and more willing to do jobs that everybody else ignores. And it seems like you had that at Walmart when you were there. They may not have liked you because you were autistic and a little bit different, but you worked hard, didn't you?
I did. I worked a lot in any position they wanted me to do. I told them I was up to do it. I'm the kind of person that if you need it done and you need help with it or you want me to do it, just ask me to do it and then tell me how you want it done and I'll do it in that order. Uh, Especially in a work environment, I'm very much when it's time to work. It's in a work environment. It's time to work.
And they got rid of you at Walmart, but you were the one doing all this work there. You were the one picking up the pieces after everybody else and doing all the other stuff. And
Well, I had a lot of help. I mean, there was a lot of people there that I did get along with. I mean,
mm-hmm,
I noticed that a lot of the kids there did actually try to. They were doing what they were told to be doing. It's just some of them, like I had one management that just didn't like working with kids,
mm-hmm,
so she just would constantly try to find a way for you to be away from her.
yeah,
So it made it hard to get your work done.
yeah. Well, that would be difficult. You brought me here to work. Let me work.
Right? Yeah.
Show me what to do. You also like cooking too,
Yes.
don't you?
I enjoy cooking a lot. It's for me. It's always been I get to make something that somebody's anticipating for, and then it gets to look good. It gets to taste good. It makes you happy. I mean, who doesn't like eating food?
Mm-hmm.
So it's it's just something I enjoy giving to people. It's a
Yeah.
way for somebody to smile. and everybody likes food. So
Yeah, I've known a lot of autistic people that didn't want to go in the kitchen. They were concerned they were going to burn the house down.
oh, I've had plenty of issues with like worrying about that, trying not to. I constantly I have to have my parents. Oh, yep. I've been constantly having people like come in and check and make sure that I'm not, you know, burning something down or I've turned the stove off. But you know, you gotta know where you're still working on, and then you gotta know how to get people that it's gonna help you in that situation.
Right. Yeah. The person who knows not to throw water on a grease fire.
Yeah, that would be somebody you need in there for sure.
That's what always concerned me with my grandchildren. It's like, or my daughter. Actually, more my daughter probably. Don't throw water on a grease fire.
Yeah, I've seen that happen in school before. Actually,
Hmm.
I watched a kid in culinary class throw water onto a fire, like a fire on a pan, and it went everywhere. So it was,
Yeah, that makes a really big splash whenever you do that.
yeah, it was a lot of cleaning that we had to do.
Hmm.
It, smoke, residue everywhere.
Yeah. So, um, do you think that you'll find employment at some point with cooking, or are you?
I,
Um,
I'd like to. It's I'd like to either get into cooking or just something hands-on,
hmm.
but I'd really like to get into cooking at some point. Uh, Soon, I'm looking into culinary schools and stuff like that. So I really would like to get into cooking professionally.
Well, that would be a good job for you, I think. If you enjoy it, um, it's amazing how many people think that autistic people can't do anything. They think they're just, it's a lost cause. You just send them back home and be done with it. You and your parents, though, work very diligently on making um, arrangements for you to see people and talk with people and just interact at this point. You do drive some of the Amish people around and so forth, since you do have a license and a car.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's people mistaken high functioning and low functioning a lot. They
mhm.
hear the word autism and they think somebody that can't move or can't speak, just can't do this and that.
Yeah, and we all know that who was it? Albert Einstein was autistic, and there's numerous composers that were autistic in the past. Um, you know, Autism is not a um disease that you sit back and you put them in a closet and just bring them out for holidays or something.
Yeah,
If you get them out to interact with other people, it helps.
yeah. The it does. If you have kids or friends or something like that who has high functioning autism or even low functioning autism, it helps to put them in situations that makes them slightly uncomfortable because you have to learn to get into those situations that are uncomfortable because you're going to have to do that in life. You're going to have to be in places that are, you know, crowded or
Hmm.
super bright and stuff like that. So, I mean, be there for the person. Don't just throw them into the water and let them figure out to swim, but nudge them in that direction. Help them.
Hmm.
It does help to have somebody pushing you.
Yeah. And you also have horses in your life. Do you ride a lot as much as your folks?
I used to ride a lot. I mean, I haven't recently. We only have the one horse. My mom rides him quite a bit. But no, I do like to ride, but I haven't in a while now.
Yeah, because I've found in the past that horses were very good for people with any kind of disability, and especially autism, because they've got this huge animal that I think horses know when you have issues like that.
Animals do tend to notice when you have when there's just something wrong with you. If you're upset, if you're mad, if you're nervous, they may not know that you have autism,
Hmm.
but they can pick up when you're
Yeah,
feeling upset or scared.
yeah, and it's great therapy. Always has been. I had an autistic girl in years past, um, probably 40 years ago, and she never spoke. And then I gave her a pony. We had what was it? I forget the name of the organization I was working with, but we gave ponies to autistic children. And she had never spoken in her life until she got this pony. And she would go out every day to water her pony and feed her pony. And she started talking within a week. And so she was able to communicate that way. Animals are very therapeutic for any kind of medicine.
They are. Like for example, they say that people with autism actually get along with animals better. It's I guess we just feel more sympathetic towards animals than a lot of people do,
Mm-hmm.
even more of like a mutual way, I guess. So they pick up on that. They can tell that they can trust you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easier to get along with animals because they're not going to really judge you for who you are.
Yep. Unlike people, unfortunately.
Yeah, as long as you feed the animal, they don't care.
uh,
It's like a cat. It's their house now.
my horses and my dogs and everything, it's like they own the house anyway. If they didn't own the house, I wouldn't be vacuuming so much.
Yeah, if animals learn to pick up after themselves, that'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, wouldn't it? Yeah, we were talking about that on the way here earlier. That so anyway, now your dad has health issues, and you have health issues, and so forth. And so, the two of you can kind of, you know, understand each other
Mhm.
really well. Now, you have, over the past few years, ever since it was legal, you got a medical marijuana card. Is that
Yes,
correct? And does that help with your autism?
it actually helps a lot. As long as you actually look into it and figure out which strains do what and indicas and sativas, what's the meaning, it does. It helps me like slow down, not really worry so much. It it helps me want to be active. It helps me want to get up and move around. There's just so many things that it helps with that I
It probably helps you communicate with people that you probably wouldn't have talked to before.
100% it does. I mean, if there's times where I'm quiet and I just don't want to speak, and then once I use medical marijuana, I get more active. I feel like I can talk more. I want to go do things, and so it helps a lot.
You lose a lot of the inhibitions you would have otherwise.
It takes away a lot of the anxiety because
Hmm.
that's really what I struggle with. Maybe not for all autistic people, but I struggle with anxiety a lot. I get nervous really easy, so it helps take away a lot of the anxiety.
Um, I know Acts Ministry, we worked diligently and did a lot of shows on autism awareness. And then we did a bunch of shows on medical marijuana and the effects on people with autism and how much better they respond after they've gotten that diet, gotten that prescription for the medical marijuana, and it just kind of like frees their brain. It seems like so that they are not so worried about talking to somebody out in public and everything. But how long have you had your certificate? Is it?
From American marijuana, I've had it for a handful of months for sure. I've almost a year.
Hmm. Yeah. Which how did your? I know your grandparents are highly anti-marijuana, but they seem to have mellowed it with age, haven't they?
Well, yeah, the way they think about it is they no matter which they're not completely wrong. No matter what you're smoking, smoking is still bad for you.
Mm-hmm.
But they seem to forget that there's a lot of ways to consume marijuana. You don't have to smoke it. You can eat it. You can drink it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can put it on your skin. So it's they're just they're in the they don't want me to smoke, which I mean it's understandable, but kind of have to do what you have to do when you need to
Well,
get
have they
help.
noticed a difference in your outgoing nature since you started with your medical marijuana?
Yeah, and I think that's really what's helped them alleviate on a lot of their worries about it is they've noticed I've been more active. They
Mm-hmm.
notice I'm wanting to talk and hang out and go do things.
Yep. You know, I was surprised when you showed up the other day without your father. I thought, well, maybe he doesn't like to go anyplace by himself.
Yeah, no, it's I try to push myself into places that I normally wouldn't be in. Like if I want to go to out to eat, there was a time period where unless it was drive through, I wasn't going in a restaurant because
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to be in that situation where I had to answer these questions that I'd never been asked before. So I try to put myself in those places that I've never been, try to get less uncomfortable
Mm-hmm.
being around those things like shopping and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah. And it's always easier to find that one girlfriend, whenever you take her to a nice restaurant.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. And I know that people have difficulty with that. It's like, no, those people are strangers. I don't want to talk to them. But, I think the use of medical marijuana with autism really kind of helps open a person up. We had gentleman when we were doing our shows before it was legalized that his son was nonverbal until and he didn't want to talk to anybody, didn't want to do anything, and they would put 2 drops of marijuana oil under his tongue in the morning, and he was talking, he was calm, you wouldn't know he had autism at that point. So the medical marijuana does provide a good outlet
it's
for autism there, as far as helping him along, I think.
it's a good like I think that not necessarily a crutch, but that example would be useful here. It's a good helpful crutch that can help people who have a disability like autism and other stuff like that get moving. It helps us push in that direction that we're normally uncomfortable with. Yeah,
Hmm. Well, I'm glad that your parents allowed you to get your medical card and so forth, because, like I say, years ago you were hiding, and now you come out and you actually talk to me, and that's a major step in life whenever you're doing things like that.
it is. I've noticed I've changed a lot. I mean, there's still things I struggle with, and even the things that I'm better with still bother me. The thing that people seem to think is eventually they'll go away.
Hmm.
Eventually, you'll get so used to it and comfortable with it that it'll never be like that anxious or embarrassing to be around. No, it's still really hard to like talk to people and just do social things, but you just have to say the first word. You have to do the first step, or you're just gonna be stuck in the water.
Yep. A lot of parents I know are frustrated because they don't have that diagnosis. They know there's something going on, but they don't have that diagnosis. No, it was actually a teacher who pointed out to your parents about
Yes,
your autism, was it not?
yes, it was. Uh, I don't know if she wants me to say her name, so I won't. But it was a teacher in a private school, it's either Christian or Baptist private school, and she had an interview with my parents, and she was like, "Do you guys know that I think he has autism, or he has?" She used the word Asperger's,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't even know what that was at the time. They've heard of it before, but they didn't really know what it was. And she goes, "Well, I've worked with a lot of people that's had it," and so she set up stuff with my parents to get a test taken, and I came back with high functioning. So it was. I'm actually glad that I went to that circumstance to figure out what was wrong because we had just thought I was getting sick. We didn't know what was going on. We just
Mm-hmm.
it was just
It's like, okay, we don't know what this child is doing, but we'll figure it out one way or another.
one way or another they figured it out.
Well, I'm glad they got the diagnosis because, it has helped you get the rest of the way through school when you knew what you were kind of dealing with then. I assume, you probably had a better understanding, and they had a better understanding of how to go and talk to your teachers when there was an issue, I'm assuming. And I'm sure your mother probably talked to a lot of teachers over the years.
Yeah, it's been a lot of it's been a lot of help knowing because it's helped set up IEPs and other stuff like that in school. It's helped with understanding. It's helped other people understand.
Hmm.
It's definitely made an impact knowing what I have versus not knowing.
Right. When you don't know, it's really difficult to find a way to help somebody. And no parent wants to see their child struggle, and I'm sure your parents watched enough of you struggling over the years.
Yeah, there was a time where I could tell that they were being overwhelmed, and I felt bad because I didn't know what was going on or like what to do or how to help. So it did help so much, and I thank that teacher so much for helping figure that out. Uh, she was also a really good teacher that I looked up to. She helped out a lot.
Hmm. Well, it's always good when you can find that one teacher that's paying attention. And I'm sure your parents were very happy whenever they found that one teacher and then took you in to get your testing.
Yeah, it did help. They were so grateful. They found out. They're like, at least we know you're not sick,
Hmm.
and so that helped them feel less stressed.
Yeah, you may have autism, but you're very talented on editing videos, and you have a YouTube channel that you're an airsoft sniper, correct?
Yeah, I mean, just something to find interest in is where a lot of us struggle. Is once you find something with interest, then we excel with it. I don't know how else to really put it. It's you know how when people like want to get good at something, they just have to make it interesting. Well, us, it's when it's interesting, then we work hard for it.
Hmm.
So if I want to learn how to edit videos, I'd sit down and figure it out. But if I want to learn how to do algebra, it's like taking teeth. So
Yeah, algebra is a totally different animal. Trust me, I've done way too much of it over the last few years. But you do a very good job at that, and that was something you taught yourself,
yes,
right? You have the hands-on approach, and you were able to find the programs and take your hour-long video and cut it down to 15-minute slot. However, do you enjoy doing that kind of work?
yeah. I mean, I actually enjoy editing videos because it's something that's basic, but it just takes time to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easy to lose the hours. It helps with making time go by. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's I'm impressed. I mean, I can't edit a video to save my life.
It's just a bunch of apps. That's all
Hmm.
I use. I don't even use one software.
Well, at least you're able to figure it out, and so people can't say that autistic people are stupid. They're not stupid. It's just a matter of finding a way to teach them or finding what they're interested in and helping to promote that effort. Do your parents promote your efforts for videoing and
Yeah,
editing and so forth?
yeah. They actually watch some of my videos. When I get done with it, they're one of the first people that watch it, which is really cool. That's nice of them to do. They are constantly telling me that I can do this and I can do that, and that's who you need to find is somebody that's going to tell you that you can do this and that you can do that. Not that you're down here where people have been telling me for a long time.
Yeah. You know, your parents don't call you stupid or bully you in any fashion that way or call you retarded.
My dad
Um,
calls me stupid, but it's I'm fair. It's all right. I do stupid things.
well, he has a right to do that when you're doing something stupid.
Yeah, there's times where I deserve to be called stupid.
No, I try not to call people stupid unless they get to that one point and it's like, okay, stupid is as stupid does. So just walk away.
That's it's like my dad. He jokes about it a lot, and it's something that I've learned to cope with. Is I like jokes. I'm
Hmm.
just that kind of person. But if you joke about the things that make you sad or upset, and you turn them funny, then it makes it less sad and upsetting because it's no now it's funny.
Hmm.
So I joke about a lot of my problems. A lot of my friends they joke about their problems. It's how we cope with it.
Hmm. And you don't have a whole lot of friends, but you got good friends, don't you?
I got a good handful of friends. Yeah, I mean I have some of them are more family than some of the family I have. It's uh, I always say that family's thicker than blood. So I mean it's true. They're really good for me and they help a lot.
Hmm. That's me. I've got friends that are more family than my family has ever been, and they're the ones I can call and depend on to show up whenever things get rough. So
And
I'm.
those are the kind of people you need to look for because
Mhm.
they'll always be there.
Well, they also understand your autism diagnosis and the fact that you don't really do well in crowded situations and so forth. So it's probably good to have a buddy that'll, walk through the mall with you, so that you got a little bit of support there.
Yeah.
Um, I know that I wouldn't want my grandchild to walk through the mall by herself, because she'd just get terrified. She'd find a restroom and lock herself in there, and she wouldn't come out again.
Yeah, I've always been. I mean, I wish the bullying or the picking on just never happened. But if it wasn't for that, then honestly, I don't think I'd be where I am now.
Hmm.
So yes, it was a bad thing, but I do look at it as the past, move forward from it.
Yeah.
So learn from it, and I've learned that certain things that I shouldn't say and some things I should, and it's helped, but it definitely was a struggle to get through.
Hmm. I think we all have to struggle to figure out how to talk to certain people, but with autism, I'm sure it's probably twice as hard at that point.
Yeah, it's like some people just we have to learn by touching the stove sometimes. Sometimes you just gotta get out there and then realize what you did. With some things might have been wrong, some things might have been right, and then learn from that and move forward.
Hmm. Well, you've got good parents that try to show you that, and I'm sure your grandparents probably were doing the same thing, and trying to get you a little more vocal.
They've been trying for years. It wasn't until I decided that I was tired of being so quiet that it started to change. And that's another thing. It's just again, you just have to get out there. No matter how much somebody's going to help you, they can only help you do so much. You have to want to do it.
Yeah, and grandparents and parents die before their child normally, so you've got to learn to function on that level before they go. Because there's not going to be anybody left to pick up the pieces when it's all over with, if that's the case. Um, I've found a lot of people over the years that would always pray that their child died before them, because they didn't have anybody that was going to take care of them like they could.
Yeah,
And that is not necessarily going to be the case.
no, and I honestly that that motivation to knowing that my parents aren't going to be there forever or my grandparents aren't going to be there forever is what's helping me, get out there. Because if I if they aren't there, then what am I going to do? So
Right.
I have to get out there.
Yeah, you got to learn how to function in the world one way or another, and I think you're doing a wonderful job, personally. It's nice to see you getting out and talking with people, and you know, the hands-on, where with the medical marijuana and so forth. Was that your idea to try, or was that your folks?
My dad actually got his medical card before me, and then it started to help him a lot. And so they talked about it, and then asked me if I wanted to try getting it and seeing if it helped. And so no, it was actually my dad's idea.
Mm. Well, good choice, wasn't it?
Yes, it has helped a lot.
No, I was surprised, because I know your grandparents are highly against marijuana, but they have kind of changed their tune after they saw how it's helped you and helped your dad and so forth.
They've been
Um,
more understanding. Yeah,
you know,
it's helped.
uh, I think most people need to stop with the 1950s marijuana is bad routine,
It's
and
the devil's work.
understand that there's more to it, and it's not going to lead to harder drugs. You're not going to be a zombied out heroin addict next week or
Yeah,
anything.
the whole thing that it's like it's the devil's lettuce or it's the gateway drug. It's not because it's helped so many people in so many ways, and the only people that take it too far would take it too far with anything, with
Yeah.
alcohol, with
Uh,
nicotine, with they're
yeah.
that kind of people. They're just going to take it that far. So
Yeah. If you use it with intelligence, well, then medical marijuana is really good for people sometimes.
yeah,
And I think it helps autistic people probably the most in some situations.
yeah, it's
Um,
like any other medicine. Use it with moderation. can't take 5 pills of Tylenol, So
Hmm.
you just gotta do
No,
some
you
better.
end up in an emergency room like people I know. But anyway, thank you for joining us today. And this man is over here trying to tell us that we're about done. So
All right,
I thank you for joining us. Thank
no
you for telling
problem.
us about your life and everything going on. And we hope to see everybody again next week.